Secret number 3, you are the message. A number of years ago, I asked Dorothy Jongawaard, co-author of the best-selling book Born to Win, to make a presentation for one of my clients. Dorothy is one of the outstanding teachers in the field of transactional analysis. As I was driving Dorothy back to the airport, I said to her, "Dorothy, I couldn't have gotten anybody better in the country to teach transactional analysis than you." "Yes, you could have," Dorothy replied, "but you couldn't have gotten anyone to do Dorothy Jongawaard as well. You see, transactional analysis is the way I have decided to share myself." "Yes, you could have, Dorothy." What Dorothy said to me that day has had a powerful impact on me ever since. It made me realize that you, as the speaker, are really the message. Your speech is the way you have decided to share yourself. Don't get so overloaded in content that the real you doesn't come out in your message. Always remember this: whenever you are speaking, whatever you are saying, you are the message. I'll never forget a few summers ago when John Denver asked me to come and speak to his WinStar conference in Aspen, Colorado. My wife Margie and I got there on Thursday night and sat in everyone's sessions on Friday. They had the most incredible people at that conference that I have ever met. For example, they had people who had been nominated for Giraffe Awards. These are people who had stuck their necks out for mankind. Everyone was committed to making the world a better place. Friday's conference ended with John Denver and the most popular singer in Russia at the time singing together. When they had first met, the only English that the Russian singer knew was Beatles songs. Singing some of those songs had started their wonderful relationship. For this concert, they had written several songs together about the cruelty and inhumanity in the world. Their songs always ended with an uplifting message about how the world could be a better place. I was scheduled to speak the next morning. At 4 a.m., I was wandering around the room. When Margie heard me stirring, she woke up too. "What's going on?" she asked. I replied, "What can I possibly talk to these people about? This is the first group I have ever been with that I honestly feel inadequate. I feel like I'm not doing enough. These people are all reaching out almost every day, trying to help make the world a better place." Margie, in her infinite wisdom, laughed and said, "Just talk about yourself. That's all you know about anyway. Tell them exactly what you just told me and how this conference is impacting you. By the time you've done that, you'll be ready to share some insights that might help them." Margie was so right. In sharing what was happening to me, I was able to relate to the audience, and then was amazed how things came to me that were important to share. You are the message. Secret number 4, inspire people. Don't just share information. I was once asked to give a speech at the regional NSA meeting in San Diego about my speaking approach. They wanted me to tell others how I give a speech. In contemplating that assignment, I realized that I do have a format. First, I give people a concept that could help them be a better manager, teacher, coach, or parent. Next, I tell a story that relates to that concept. I get people laughing. Finally, I zero in on audience members as human beings, trying to make my point in such a way that it triggers an emotional reaction for each person. I want them to identify with what I am saying. It might even inspire them to take some new action. Let me give you an example. Of all the concepts that I have taught over the years, the most important is about catching people doing things right. There is little doubt in my mind that the key to developing people is to catch them doing something right and praising them for their performance. And there are many ways you can praise someone. Bob Nelson, who serves as Vice President of Product Development for our company, wrote the best-selling book, 1001 Ways to Reward Employees. Bob's book is filled with ideas about how you can praise employees for doing things right. The minute you begin talking about catching someone doing things right, praising that person and letting him or her know you notice their good performance, that person's attention perks up. After I talk to an audience about praising in a general sense, I warn people not to wait for exactly the right behavior to praise others, because you could be waiting forever. In the beginning, when people are learning something and are not top performers yet, you have to praise progress. I ask my audience to imagine trying to teach a child how to talk. You decide you want her to say, "Give me a glass of water, please." If she has never spoken before and you wait for that full sentence before you give the child a sip of water, what have you got? A dead, dehydrated kid, that's what. So what do? You have to praise progress. First, you zero in on water. Repeat it over and over again. Finally, the child will respond with something like "Lawler." When that happens, hug and kiss the child. Call grandmother and get the child on the phone so she can say, "Lawler, lawler, lawler." Well, that's not water, it's not bad. After a while, you will only accept water. Why? Because you don't want your child going into a restaurant at 21 years of age and asking for a glass of Lawler. So praising progress helps people move towards desired performance. Is praising important in relationships other than with our children? You better believe it. So now I get my audience to think about other applications for the concept. Have you ever seen a couple in a restaurant in love? While one is talking, what is the other doing? He or she is smiling, listening, and pawing. On the other hand, have you ever seen a married couple in a restaurant? They look like they couldn't get anyone else to eat with them. They have nothing to say. Margie and I were at a French restaurant not long ago where we spent 3.5 hours enjoying a marvelous meal in the elegant atmosphere. On one side of us was a couple in love. I don't think they cared if the meal ever came. On the other side was a couple that obviously had been married for a while. In 3.5 hours, I don't think they said 4 sentences to each other. He finally said, "How's your meat?" "Okay," was the reply. "How's yours?" I said to Margie. "That marriage is dead. Nobody buried it." How do you get from hanging on to someone's every word to having nothing to say? It's the frequency with which you catch each other doing things right. Have you ever heard the expression, love is blind? What does that mean? In the beginning, you only see the good qualities in the other person. Then what happens after you get married or move in with the person? Pretty soon you start noticing everything that is wrong. You start to think things like to yourself like, "I don't know anything about that," or "You got to be kidding me," or "I can't believe it." The final demise of a love relationship is when you do something right, but you get yelled at for not doing it right enough. "You should have done it on Wednesday. You had to ask me." The key to keeping relationships going is to constantly catch each other doing things right and accent the positive. When you accent the positive, you have deposits in your human relationship bank with that person. Now, if he or she does something wrong, you can point it out without devastating the relationship. Unfortunately, most relationships deteriorate to the point that you focus on catching the other person doing things wrong. The example I've just presented demonstrates how I try to present a concept in human terms and involve the audience in a way that it stirs an emotional reaction in each person. I try to relate the concept to something that is present in the lives of every audience member so they can feel the power of the concept. Remember that your job as a speaker is to inspire and change people's behavior, not just share information. The privilege of sharing. One final thought. Never adopt the attitude expressed by this thought: "I've got to give another speech tonight." You don't have to give another speech tonight or any time. You have the privilege of giving another speech. You get to share who you are. You get to help people with their lives. What a wonderful opportunity.